I have been on a journey rewatching South Park because I watched all of these seasons when I was young, and I've actually only revisited a few episodes. So I started off with season 6, and now we move on to season 7, which I forgot how many golden episodes were in season 7. So we're going to be breaking down the entirety of season 7 of South Park, talking about some things that I liked, some things that I didn't like. We're going to be talking about all of it for you today. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy who's made a YouTube channel. So we start off with an episode that, to be honest with you, it's good, but the episode is a little bit lackluster, just like, kicking things off. I more so find it interesting, like, what the episode is actually about than actually, like, the content within the episode. The boys revisit the entirety of the very first episode of South Park where they get deja vu for everything that's going on. And long story short, they figure out that Earth is actually part of a reality show. And this is where I actually find the story for it interesting, because while I am a man of faith, I think it's very, very interesting to look at, like, how, different theories on how the world works and how the creation of everything exists. Like, I love reading books about how the universe works. I just read a book about black holes, things like that. And how it wouldn't shock me, or like I spent like a good portion of my life thinking this way, where it wouldn't shock me if Earth really was something like a TV show, because it would make sense. Okay, we took white people from the white people planet, we took deer from the deer people planet, and their tagline was watch them fight and fall in love. Earth could be a big TV show for people, for aliens, and I like the idea that it was going to be canceled, but then Kenny ends up, like, bribing them with a photo. It's just, it was all funny, it was all interesting, and I thought it was a good episode, man. I didn't really like revisiting everything in the beginning, but like once we got into the parts with the aliens, then I liked it a little bit more. But unfortunately, with the following episode with, Jimmy and Timmy getting part of a nice fun group, this is obviously not something that's YouTube friendly, so we are going to skip on that. I will say it was a great episode. Anytime you have Jimmy and Timmy in an episode, I think it's great. So we'll just continue on over to the part of the series, which is the next episode, where Cartman and the gang, they start TPing the teacher's house because they ended up getting detention in art class. That was all good. Eric always finding ways to kill Kyle. And this is something that I actually missed about the old episodes too, is like that just unjust hatred that Eric always had for Kyle. He's like, all right, guys, looks like we're going to have to kill Kyle. Kyle can't handle the pressure. Looks like we're just going to have to kill him. And then at the end of the episode, Eric was the one who came clean after figuring out, like, he wouldn't let Kyle come clean. And he's like, another thing that I love is when Eric is, like, pretending to be, like, a good boy, where he's sitting there and he's like, the teachers are like, oh my God, your friend Eric over here, he felt so bad about it. He's like, yeah, I just felt really, really bad. And I couldn't live with the guilt anymore, but I know my friends wanted to... I know my friends didn't want to tell anybody that they TP'd the house, but I have a conscience in myself. I like all of that stuff about Eric. It makes me really, really laugh. But as we continue on through the season, there's a few episodes that there really isn't, like, anything to touch on, really. We have which is the 1000th episode in the series, or sorry, not 1000th, 100th episode of the series, where we come with the song, like, the I'm a little bit country, I'm a little bit rock and roll, and when I listened to this, it was stuck in my head. I don't even like the song. It was stuck in my head for a good couple days. So it's always touchy, and we can't really talk about war over here, so we're going to have to unfortunately skip that part. But there's not really much else to talk about, like with Jennifer Lopez, Cartman, having his hand as Jennifer Lopez. Very, very weird for an episode. And I can't believe that. I can't believe it. It's just like South Park goes that extra mile, right? And where Cartman ends up, like, actually having relations with an older person. I can't believe that they, like, voiced that, they edited that. It's just, like, not shocking to me. There's another episode where they end up going on an actual detective spree and just making up some crazy cases for some old ladies. That one was okay too. And we also have the casino episode with the Native Americans. And while, again, it's a little bit touchy to talk about, the whole gambling situation is funny to me because I've never understood gamblers. I get that it's addicting, but it's like, hey, we got enough money to save the town, yeah. But you know what else? If we did it again, if we won again, then we could have all of this extra money to spend. Gambling mindset will just never make sense to me in a million years. I don't even understand, like, I like MMA betting. I have a whole channel, depending on whether or not you came from another channel. I have a whole other channel on MMA. I like to bet on the sport. I'm good at betting on the sport, but that's because I understand the sport and I'm like good at what I do. It's not gambling. It's like making extremely educated guesses and predictions for what's going to happen. That type of gambling I get when it comes to something like sports betting. But hey, throw it all on red. I will never understand it. I went to a casino once when I was of age. I lost $40 in like a second. Never went back again. I don't understand why people go like, oh, I can make my $40 back. And I thought the show did a really good job in encapsulating that kind of mindset. But with the like last half or the last quarter of the season, this is where season 7 becomes one of my favorite seasons in South Park history, because it's just banger after banger after banger. Starting off with the entire metrosexual episode. I always thought this episode was hilarious, you know, when all the guys were starting to become feminine and it became a trend, and the girls liked it at first, but then they all started hating their husbands, and it just, for whatever reason, it was crap people being part of it. And then you have the entire storyline where everybody's like, you know, starting to be metrosexual. They're all being cool for being metrosexual, and Kyle has to go home to his dad, and he's like, Dad, the kids are bullying me because I'm straight. Like, I loved that entire thing. I loved how Mr. Garrison got pissed off about it because Mr. Garrison wasn't the only, like, you know, feminine guy in town anymore. All of that was hilarious. Great episode. But then they kick it up another notch with the Christian rock band. Oh my God. One of my favorite episodes in South Park history, guys, where you have Cartman who pursues getting a platinum album and having a successful band just for the sake of rubbing it in Kyle's face. And this is what I was talking about earlier, where I miss that about South Park. You know, the hatred that Kyle had. The hatred Cartman had for Kyle. He made all of this money, blew it all on a celebration for his platinum album just so he could get $10 from Kyle, because they bet $10 they could get a platinum album before you can. So, and then of course, just in classic Cartman style, the entire thing comes crumbling down. I don't remember, what did they call it? Did they call it a Murr album? I don't remember what it was, but technically the Christian rock band, of course, can't get platinum albums, so Kyle never had to fork over the $10. Cartman lost all the money, and then he starts going, you know, F Jesus, and then everybody's like, whoa, because everybody's like all Christian, and then he gets the crap beat out of him for that. All hilarious. I love the start of the episode where he's like, I'll bet you $10, and then he like runs over to start a band. Of course, it's Butters' token. The way that they ended up like getting the album covers was like, no, you have to look over there and pretend like you don't care because you're too cool to be a part of a band. And like, all of it hilarious. The songs are hilarious. The part where Cartman starts leveraging like his love for Jesus. And the sad thing about this is, I would imagine that this is a lot of like, I don't know how many Christian bands are out there, but I would imagine there's a lot of people out there that are actually not as, you know, sinister as Cartman. But I would imagine a lot of people take advantage of that. It's like, hey, buy this if you love Jesus. Yes, praise be to him. Like, I just know that's a lot of people, okay? And, dude, a little bit off topic, and I know I've told this story before on stream, depending on what channel you're coming from. I'm a man of faith, and I have all the respect in the world for religions, right? But growing up, and I just, like, I also acknowledge that there's bad people out here, and this is why I struggle with my faith a little bit, because I can't bring myself to, you know, just see the best in people, want the best for them, because there are bad people out there, right? Growing up, we had a church that we went to that was very close to the house, and like our school went to the church, like it was it was, you know, the church everybody went to, okay? My dad, who was a police officer and an excellent judge of character, and that's what he kind of passed down to me, which I'm very thankful for. And of course, I couldn't see this because I was a kid. He goes, I don't like that guy. I don't trust that guy. I don't like that guy. And my mom's like, he's a priest. He's a priest. How? And my dad's like, I don't like him. And turned out later on, he was being a priest and stealing all of the money for the church. Every single time they passed around that basket for donations. Like, there are a lot of Cartmans out there, okay? And I just always find it funny because my dad saw it coming. And my dad's so like humble about it too. Where just like, he lets the fact that he was right speak for himself. It's just crazy. And that's another reason why I like these episodes, because like there are people like Cartman out there. Yes. Oh, buy this. Praise be to God. Like, it's so funny to me. And the other part where like he starts making up the songs, where it's like, I want to get down on my knees and start pleasing Jesus, that stuff. And then he's getting talked to about these songs, and he's like, I have never done anything for just the money, and if I'm wrong, may the Lord strike me down right now. And then Butter's like, whoo, getting out of the way. All of it was really funny. That was a fantastic episode. But they circle back again with another banger. That being about the elderly being on the road and how dangerous it is, because it's actually dangerous. And I don't understand even to this day why we have so many people that don't get retested. Like, I'm all for the elderly driving. Just, if you're capable of driving, that should be standard. Sorry if that came through the mic. Somebody is a little bit... My puppy over there, she's tired. It's a little early for her. I have a vacation day at work today, so I'm recording like really, really early in the morning over here. She's usually sleeping, but she just groaned. And this is another thing that I can kind of relate to myself too, because the average person doesn't understand how actually destructive the elderly people behind the wheel can be. I know that we can all think about it, but it happens so much more often. People dying, crashes, people getting hurt. It happens so much more often than you think, because if you've been following a channel, then you might know that I used to work in an emergency room. I've seen these things. I have seen all the people coming in broken and their lives completely changed because of elderly people behind the wheel, drunk drivers, whatever it may be. I can't believe that there is no laws in place, at least where I am. Okay, I don't know if it's different for the rest of the world. I can only speak for where I am over in Canada. We don't have mandatory retests for people who are clearly getting dementia and things like that. That doesn't make sense to me. And I don't care. It's like, oh, but it's my right to drive. It's not your right to put other people in danger. I don't care how, like, what that steps on. That's the right thing to do. And South Park encapsulates these things in such a funny way because they're actual issues. Like, even if you want to dive into the Christian community, there's actual issues that take place here. They just spin it and they make it fun. So while I do, like, I talk about how these issues kind of, like, hit home for me, I also do have, like, a little bit of a dark sense of humor, and it's funny, like, watching the old people kill people, but I don't take South Park seriously. That's the thing. I understand that this is a real issue, and in reality, I do, like, really, really care about it, and I worry about it. And oftentimes when I get in a car, I worry about, like, you know, some elderly person or some drunk guy running into me. But because it's South Park, I can laugh about it. But now we move on to another one, which is probably one of the greatest episodes in South Park history. It's my brother's favorite episode, as well as the Casa Bonita one. What can I say, guys? What can I say? Cartman wants to go to Casa Bonita, which I still don't really know what it was. Was it just like a resort where you eat all this food, you go through like a cave with a waterfall? And Kyle doesn't invite Cartman, and Cartman starts like being nice, where he just beats up Jimmy like, don't you ever talk about Kyle's mom again. If you say you have sex with his mom one more time, I'm gonna really let you have it. And then Kyle has to walk by him saying like, do you really think beating up a handicapped kid is being nice? Cartman working to be nice, and then eventually, because Butter, he got through to Kyle just a little bit, because Kyle's a good guy. He's like, oh yeah, I actually don't care. I just want you to have a good time, Kyle, and I just hope that, like, you know, we just ride each other as friends, and I just hope we can be cool. Then he's squeezed out from Kyle, hey, if for whatever reason Butters can't go to Casa Bonita, you can come along. And Cartman's just like, perfect, because Cartman's obviously, he actually hates Kyle. So he convinces Butters that there's a meteor coming to the Earth, and Butters has to hide in a bomb shelter, which is hilarious, to the point where Butters ends up getting out, right? And Eric blindfolded him and he took him to a dump, and he builds a memorial statue for Eric Cartman. And I love the episodes. Any time that we have Eric and Butters together, they're literally my favorite duo in South Park. They make me laugh so much, where it's like, whoa, Eric, I just want to say thank you so much for being such a good friend and sacrificing yourself for my happiness. And Eric is always like, anything for you, Butters. Anything for you. Just I'm trusting you to repopulate the Earth. Butters finds some random woman, but Eric ends up going to Casa Bonita. But like, the funny thing about it is, like, the real Cartman ends up slipping out, where he's like, oh my god, it's Kyle's birthday. And he's like, what do you guys think we should do first? We should do this first. I think we should do whatever Kyle wants to do. And he goes, what? Fuck Kyle. And then he's like, just kidding. Like, this is the Eric Cartman in the South Park that I love. And again, I love South Park and what it's become today, but this is like what really made me fall in love with the show. I loved all of that. But we continue on to another great episode, which I wish that I had a little bit more that I could talk about it, but there's really not much. They have the Mormon episode, which we're not going to talk about, you know, the Mormon religion, but I like the fact that, like, I found it funny with that. I can't remember the new kid's name. The new kid from the Mormon family, he was insanely nice. The family was nice, and they made friends, and everybody was making fun of him for being friends with the new kid. I kind of liked all of that, even to the point where it's like, oh, I get it. I'm the new kid. Look, do what you got to do. Kick my ass. Hopefully we can be cool after. I enjoyed all of that. Now, another great episode was the one with Rob Reiner. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not familiar with who Rob Reiner is, but I kind of like get the gist of the episode. You have to stop the spread. He works to like stop the spread of cigarettes, and I just found it funny where you have the people who want to stop smoking and ban smoking, and you have like they're all evil, and then you have the people in the tobacco company where it's like a happy, jolly place. And I'm not gonna lie, South Park has a little bit of a point with this one. While I am totally for just banning cigarettes outright, I don't think it's good. I think too many kids get a hold of it, and I understand. I know we're going to hear about it in the comments. I get it. I know they're still going to be around. They're going to be sold like, underground and stuff like that. I get it, okay? It's just, I think it'll be a net positive. But they also displayed a perfectly reasonable thing where we have all of these things in place in society to talk about how bad smoking actually is for you. So it's really self-inflicted if you want to get into it, because some people do want to chill. Some people do want to chill. Some people want to hang out. Some people just want to have a good old, even if it's just like a good old hit of nicotine for whatever reason, they don't even have to use cigarettes for that. It makes sense. There are all these things in life now that it's like, hey, don't smoke for these reasons. It's beaten to our head as kids, and I can only imagine it's more so now. But then again, I'm thinking like, okay, we're trying to disrupt our kids so young now. Maybe that's not even a thing anymore, but I would imagine it still is a thing. I also really like the irony, and you have somebody like Rob Reiner. Again, I don't know who Rob Reiner is really, but this could be, in place for everybody where you just spit on somebody for smoking, and you can't even smoke inside, which again, it's great. I don't care, and I don't care about like what you talk about secondhand smoking. I don't know if people are even arguing against that. I don't want to smell it, anything like that. So I like the fact that you can't do it, but you have these people just like doing it by themselves outside on the sidewalk, which is really no big deal in a designated smoking area. And then you have somebody stuffing his face with food, obviously being as unhealthy as possible. It's like, oh my God, you dirty, dirty smoker. Do you want to die early? You filthy, filthy piece of crap. That is true how society treats smokers. And it's the most unhealthy people on this entire planet. He's like, oh my God, you filthy smoker. I'll never touch a cigarette in my life. But they're, doing nothing but bed rotting, watching Netflix and touching themselves at night. Like, arguably, the cigarette's better for you. So I really liked all of that as well, where even when they dove into, and I think I mentioned this, sorry for repeating myself, even though they dove into like where it's like, no, the people who just want to smoke a cigarette sometimes just want to chill. As Kyle said, like, it's perfectly reasonable. So they kind of won me over a little bit, and I get the way they displayed it. Okay, I understand that. But it really does go to show an issue where it's like people like look so above people who smoke, which I don't do, by the way. I would never smoke. I've never smoked, never will smoke. If somebody wants to smoke, I don't care. Just don't like influence the kids to smoke. That's where I lie on those types of issues. But I always did find it kind of funny, like the way that they presented this, and I've only appreciated that episode more as time went on. But let's continue on to the next episode where we are introduced to the Goth Kids. I don't recall if this is the first introduction to the Goth Kids, but upon my rewatch, it's the first time we're going back to the Goth Kids. Every time we see the Goth Kids, I love them. Like, death and despair, death and despair. Like, when you go over to Henrietta's house, you have, like, the happy, positive mom who's like, oh, Henrietta, hi, sweetie. And she's like, oh, you probably wish I was dead, Mom, eh? You probably wish I was dead, and then you would, like, throw my corpse out the window or something like that. And then, oh, sweetie, Mommy loves you very much. That's probably how a lot of Goth Kids are, to be honest with you. I've never understood it, and I like that Butters, of all people, was the one who's like, no, thanks, I'd rather be a crying, whiny little bitch instead of a goth kid. All that was good, but we also had the whole thing about this new place called Raisins, which is disgusting, and Butters ends up falling in love with somebody because Wendy ended up breaking up with Stan, and it's always funny to me, South Park encapsulated childhood so well, they just over-exaggerate it, right? Where you have some random girl for like who's friends with your girlfriend come up to you and be like, Wendy breaks up, and like that's it. And then you have the messenger with other people. It's funny the way they did it. It's very realistic, and South Park takes it up a notch because you have an adult problem, with the kids, and I always feel bad for Butters, but at the same time, it's pretty funny, falling in love, and there's not much else that we could really expand upon that, but we close things off with another Christmas episode, and unfortunately, as I said in the last season, I hate watching Christmas episodes to things when it's not Christmas. I don't get into it. I don't like it, and it's always been a little bit confusing to me because, don't get me wrong, I don't take offense to this. I'm in Canada, and the way that Canadians are displayed is like, it's like the Wizard of Oz where everybody's like happy, yay, and they always talk about how stupid Canadians are too. I just don't know if that's like the actual perception of the entire world upon us, or if it's just like, this is how they decided to make Canadians. Regardless, I'm not offended by it. We have the entire situation with Ike being taken away. They have to go back and they have to make sure they get back in time for Christmas because Cartman doesn't want to miss Christmas, but this is a good thing to do. So, and they have to go get Ike because Cartman wants presents, because everybody agreed that the Christmas thing to do would be to pour all of the money and give them to Kyle's family because they all want to get Ike back, and Cartman's not having any of that. And what's funny is, growing up watching this episode, I didn't know that this actually became a sound, because back in the day, my boomer age is going to start showing over here. The hot thing that everybody was doing was playing Flipnote Studio on DS, if you guys remember any of that. We had a phase where everybody was playing that. Everybody in school was playing that, okay? There was a very popular, like, sound or video. If you guys remember, like, you could go online and watch other people's Flipnote things that they made. And the top one was always a recreation of a scene, which I don't recall if it was actually a scene from South Park, but it was the ending part of the episode where it's like, you know, somebody gets hit, which is Kyle, like, punching Cartman because, like, now you're gonna get it, motherfucker. You and me, right now. We're having it out. Come on. Come on. And then Cartman starts screaming. That was the sound on Flipnote Studio, and I remember watching this in South Park growing up, too, where I was like, oh my god, that's what that is? Because we've all watched it so many times, because I remember in grade school, everybody thought that that was hilarious. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I don't find that funny at all anymore, but it's funny to look back on that. So I didn't like the Christmas episode. It's, I don't want that to come off like, because I'm offended by anything that happened to the Canadians. I don't care. It's just, I've never found like the fart humor funny, and that's why I wanted to start the rewatch over in season 6 instead of season 1. But if you want to talk about season 6, why don't you check out this video right here? I'd love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, everybody.